Hey guys, Myles here at Hyve. It is another Monday, so it is a dry fire session. And today we're going to continue our talk about progressively building up your speed when shooting. So if you're interested, stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So last week we started to talk about building speed, and we are taking very, very small baby steps to doing that. You already know everything you need to. Yeah, I mean, you may not know it, but you already have everything you need to shoot fast. And we're just doing exercises, introducing things that can help you work on it and kind of progressively build on it. And the first thing we talked about was shooting with a cadence. Now, shooting with a cadence is not something that is practical. We're using this as an exercise just to rhythmically, following that pattern to work on that trigger control. This is especially important for beginners, okay? If you're experienced, again, you're shooting at what your sights are telling you. But now if you're just newly starting and you're nervous and things like that, it does help to start with a rhythm because, again, as human beings, we like to do things in a pattern and in a rhythm. So we started off with a second cadence, a half-second cadence, a quarter-second cadence. What we're going to do now is work off of that, but we're going to add a few more details there as to how you should be working that cadence. Remember, the cadence there is just an exercise. You're not looking to shoot at that cadence. It's going to help you learn, right? That said, the secret to shooting fast, and I have my dry fire mag, which is going to let me work on this without any interruption. And I do highly recommend this, especially if you are a beginner or a intermediate shooter. Check the description for more details. And the idea here is the cadence is giving you a rhythm to work off of, especially if you're a beginner and you've never shot fast in your life. If you've been following the series and you've just been taking single shots, maybe for you, shooting at a quarter second is really nerve-wracking. And it's just because it's so fast for you. And that's okay. This is why we're taking these baby steps. But now what I want you to work on when we do this dry fire session here is to quickly reset your trigger. We've talked about this in a lot of the different videos, but we're now going to emphasize this. When I shoot, I do not want to pin the trigger to the rear. I do not want to keep this stuck here to the gun where I have to, in order to take a shot, I have to reset and now take the shot, right? So I want to prep the trigger. So when you were doing the cadence exercises last week, you may have been slow to reset the trigger. Maybe that was the case. Now you want to ensure, hyper focus, that when you break the shot, you come right off it, come right off the trigger and come right back on the trigger, okay? The secret to shooting fast is coming off the trigger and back onto it right away. So now you're going to work on the cadence, same exact thing that you did, okay? But now you are going to hyper focus on releasing and coming back to a prepped trigger. Yes, it's very similar to what we did in the previous dry fire exercise. Now the only thing that changes is your mental focus. That is it, mental focus, and now just taking your finger off the trigger and coming back on it right away. The live fire session, we'll be focusing on that too, but we're gonna be adding something to that. So for the dry fire session, all you really need to know or focus on is come off the trigger, come back on it, okay? And so I'm gonna demonstrate, well actually I can just demonstrate looking at you. I don't really need to use a target because you can be doing this at your home or wherever you are. You're completely dry. And so everything is the same, all right? Remember, this is a progressive approach. If you're already advanced, then, this is nothing. This is gonna be extremely simple, easy, no big deal. But most of the people watching this and most viewers are really relatively new gun owners and they don't really practice a lot. So this is something that is very important for a progressive standpoint, progressive approach standpoint. So what you're going to do is the same exact thing. You're going to shoot on the number, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. And then we're gonna go half second, 1 and a 2 and a 3. And then the third iteration will be quarter second, 1 and 2 and 3. Remember, you are not going to be shooting like this. This is just an exercise, right? When you do shoot like this, it is just working skill sets or components so that you can take it with you later on, right? When you get more advanced. We are now isolating skills, okay? So all you're gonna do, same exact thing. I'm not gonna go over every little count, but you would do the second, half second, quarter second, but I want you now to immediately get off that trigger, okay? Immediately, you have to, okay? Don't pin the trigger. So I'll do the second cadence here. It would be, and I'm going to just do this so you can see my trigger finger. I will do this wrong first. So I'm going to exaggerate here so you can see my trigger fingers. This is incorrect. 1 1000, 2 1000. Notice how I'm pinning it and I'm not even ready for the next number, so I'll do it again. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Notice when I've said the number, I'm supposed to be taking the shot, but what was I doing at the number? I was resetting the trigger, okay? So I'm slow. So what you should focus on is immediately, notice what happens after I take the count, okay? So notice what happens on my trigger finger. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Immediately comes off and I'm ready to break the shot. So you wanna do this, get used to it, especially if in this past week you noticed you were pinning the trigger. Get rid of that habit. Get rid of it, because in any practical application, pinning the trigger is not going, and any practical distance, pinning the trigger is not going to be useful. Yes, there's a time and place for it, perhaps if you're doing very long range precision shooting with a pistol, if you're shaky, it might help you to pin the trigger, but for our purposes here, get off the trigger. So you're gonna do the same exact thing that you did last week, all right? Working second, half second, quarter second, but now your mental focus should be coming off the trigger and back on it. While we're doing this, remember the measurement, if you're accurate, is if there's movement in your red dot or your iron sight. So keep that in mind. If there's a lot of movement, then something is off, right? So it's very similar to last week's dry fire session, but this is meant for those of you who have never really tried to shoot fast and you have to progressively get there, right? So don't go wild, work up to it, second, half second, quarter second. Then I'm going to start talking about in the live fire session, it's going to be very important that you learn to reset. This is why your dry fire session is focusing on it. Then we're going to start leaning into some of the practical applications where shooting with a cadence can actually help you. Again, you're never going to shoot just based on the number. It's going to be based on your sights and what your sights are telling you. But there are things, practical applications from working with cadence that can actually help you with other things, which we'll discuss on Thursday. So I hope you guys liked today's dry fire session. Even though it seems simple, if you are new to really starting to shoot fast, do the exercise. It will be helpful, right? Then join in on Thursday. We'll discuss this a little bit more doing live fire.